Hello, everybody. I'm still Harvey Silverman, welcoming you to another episode of NGCOA Golf Business Live Tech Talks. We've got a really, really good one for you today. This gentleman has a whopper of a story, and I want to introduce to you BK Browne from SpeakSport. BK, sorry about the whopper thing, but I've been holding on to that for a long time. So
that's
just
all good, Harvey.
Yeah. When we're all done, you can fry me later.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. And I've heard all the nicknames over the years: Burger King, Brooklyn, Bad Kid, whatever's under the sun. So I've heard them all, and it's always fun to hear them.
Good. I'm glad you take that with good humor. And by the way, folks, I just want to push this a little bit. You can see that I'm wearing my new Represent Golf Business Live shirt. This is from the NGCOA store, which is shop.ngcoa.org. They've got some great merchandise in here. This is from my spring straight down collection. And if you go there, you'll find some quality brand names. And if you want to represent with NGCOA, you can add the logo, or for your own golf course powered by T-Commerce. This is not really a pitch for them, but T-Commerce powers this. You can do it for your own shop. And I think it's a brilliant idea to help expand the availability of logoed merchandise to your fans and customers. But anyway, so this is right off the new hanger and my spring collection. Anyway, BK, we've known each other for a while. I've heard the demo. Of course, this goes back several months, so I'm sure things have changed. But we want to know first, what inspired you to start SpeakSport.ai, and why did you choose to focus on AI voice technology for golf facilities specifically?
Sure. That's a great question, Harvey. So I'll take you back in the archives a little bit. So I went to Babson College for my undergraduate studies. It's known as the top entrepreneurial school in the country, and that's based just outside of Boston. Prior to that, I spent my days playing junior competitive golf, and in the summertime, for a couple of summers consecutively, I would spend working in kind of golf operations roles here and there. And a lot of my time was spent behind the counter of a golf shop specifically. And it was there when I, oftentimes on a busy summer day would have 2 to 3 plus guests or members walking up to me at the same time, trying to check in for their tee time, ask questions about merchandise, and the phones would be ringing nonstop simultaneously. And it was just impossible to tailor to both at the same time. When you choose the guest in front of you, which I believe every operator should be striving for, that's a lost revenue opportunity from not taking that phone call, and vice versa. If you answer the phone, the guest in front of you is not going to have a value-added, service experience, and they may as well go to the course 2 miles down the road. So it was my personal experience behind the counter, as well as a golfer, and calling courses for tee times and generic questions, and oftentimes being left on hold that said, all right, enough is enough. If there's a way to finally find a solution for this problem, and there are many other kind of follow-on, ancillary problems or lack of opportunities that the phone calls entail, then may as well try to give it my best and go solve the problem and help the industry out.
So that's really that digs into the core problem that you're trying to solve for golf courses and their customers, correct?
That's right.
It's the issue of customer service, and like you say, the phone's ringing while a guy is standing in front of the staff member with a gold American Express card saying, I want to pay for my group. And it's like, hold on, sir, I've got to answer the phone. So this is more than just about tee times. And I think you need to, we'd like you to talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Happy to.
So what makes this technology unique compared to the existing solutions that are currently being used in hospitality or sports management?
Sure. So this concept is very new to the, recreational and hospitality industries. We can think back to the days of, or even now, when you call up your bank or your airline and experience a slow agent that doesn't really understand you or doesn't direct you in the right manner to whatever you're looking for. But this is essentially that experience, the IVR, if you will, on steroids. It is meant to mimic human tasks to to its optimal nature, not only during business hours, but 24 hours a day, and also as that personal touch, that member feel. It's our goal to ensure that every single guest feels like a member when they're showing up at that course of choice. And we are using this interactive experience to save them time and streamline the process for them to both book tea times and get their questions answered, all while, getting that personal membership feel, if you will. And happy to touch a little bit more on that.
I'm glad you mentioned IVR, and I think you make a good point that what you've developed is really IVR on steroids. IVR was very, very popular back in the late 90s, mid to late 90s. I think Jim Keegan may have been one of the first to develop an IVR system for tea time reservations with Fairway system. And there were municipalities especially that were using it extensively. So it's taken this many years, I guess, to advance IVR to a whole nother level of technology and usability, both by the golf course and golf course's customers, right?
Totally.
Okay, so now you've got this smart system, this AI system, assuming that it's learning as it goes along, as people are asking questions or giving responses. How does it handle the complex customer backgrounds, or how does it handle the background noise in an environment where, let's say, the guy's calling on his phone, he's in the car, he's got his mother-in-law in the back seat yelling, "Hey, you missed the turn. I told you to take a right turn. Who taught you how to drive?" So you've got this background noise going on while the guy's trying to book a tea time using your artificial intelligence. How is your system able to handle those complex situations?
Yeah, I would say background noise is a difficult one. That is one area in which we've been extensively testing in loud environments with guests speaking of various accents and various ages, rather. But that is definitely one of the more difficult aspects of where this technology comes into place. I'd say with continual testing and the technology progressing over time, we will see a more frictionless experience, especially when there is background noise. So at the time being, there haven't been too many concerns, but we're always looking to build on that front and keep progressing the technology as it does get better over time.
And you mentioned accents, and I'm glad you did, because we have golfers from various ethnicities and nationalities speaking different versions of the English language, including our friend Rock Lucas, who's got a whole different angle on how to speak English, but that's more fun than anything else. So I assume that your system is learning how to interpret those different accents and be able to respond correctly and accordingly, right? Absolutely.
It does require a little bit of testing, on our end. And we've had a variety of facilities reaching out and, requesting specific testing on Western accents or Southern accents. So we've been doing a lot of testing in that regard. And depending on the region, as you know, there can be, actual guests booking or asking questions in various different languages as well. So on top of that accent piece, we're working on implementing additional languages, which will be rolled out over the coming couple of months.
So I assume those languages would probably be Spanish, number one. What's next after Spanish?
I would say that Mandarin Chinese will likely be the next step after that. I don't know if I had mentioned to you, Harvey, in one of our past conversations, but I'm a near fluent Mandarin speaker and grew up speaking from a very young age. So I'm well acclimated with the language to some degree, and I'd like to be able to incorporate that and help out the many Chinese speakers of the industry and getting a streamlined experience at the property.
So the BK stands for Beijing Kung Pao. Is that what
It does not, but that would be hilarious.
Tell us a little bit about now where you're at. You've been in the market now for a number of months. Tell us a little bit about the partnerships you've developed with the various T-Sheet GMS vendors.
Sure. Yeah. So we're a relatively newer technology company, but the name's been out there, I guess, for approximately 6 or 7 months, probably about 5 or 6 months since I've been full-time on the technology. We have a few different tee sheet and POS partnerships already set in stone, and then one additional that we'll have commercially all set up within the next couple days. Our first couple active integrations are with Club Caddy and Sagacity Golf, two fantastic partners and very forward-thinking operators who have that operator experience as well. So they've been well receptive to the product and filling in the gaps that their partner courses and guests are requesting from them. And we have additional partnerships lined up over the coming few months as well. So it's been really well, received by the industry, and I'm glad that we're helping those operators fill in the gaps that their guests are specifically requesting.
So in place right now is Club Caddy and Sagacity, and others are pending, I guess, at this
That's
point.
right. Yeah. We have a one or two that we're kind of closing off on the final, agreement specifics, and then a couple of the latter ones we're in deep talks with, of course, and with plans to progress over the coming months.
Okay, very good, very good. Yeah, you're right that both Jason Pearsall and the guys at Sagacity lost a lot, and Brett Darrow are forward thinking on these things, especially with regard to customer service and tee time reservations. So that's a good start.
Absolutely.
What is then your core value proposition for golf courses, and how do you measure your impact on their operations?
No, absolutely, Harvey. So I would say a few different things. The first is we now provide the operator the ability to drive their bookings 24 hours a day. Of course, the digital era is beginning to gravitate and take things a little bit more online. But in my many conversations with operators, continue to hear that the older guests specifically are still choosing to call for their bookings and questions no matter what. And I don't think this problem will go away anytime soon. So in that first regard, we are driving bookings for these courses, not only during shop hours, but 24 hours as well. I envision that, if the online experience allows for 24-hour booking, why can't the phone call experience? And that's something that every golf course should have, in practice, some solution for driving bookings 24 hours a day. The second piece is the broader enhancing customer service. What we touched upon previously, ensuring that no guest gets left behind or isn't tailored to at the counter, and they're always being treated like a member and are able to speak to either a staff member or get their question or inquiry resolved at any given time. And then the third piece is additional revenue opportunities. Obviously, what comes with that, driving service and loyalty factor of more time spent face-to-face and in front of the customer comes additional revenue opportunities right then and there. How our product differs is we are focusing a lot on the broader customer experience and understanding ancillary revenue opportunities for courses. Back in my time, behind the counter, when I was taking phone calls, and I would experience this both on the phone call or the caller end as well as the operator end. 99.9% of the time, when a guest calls for a given tee time or a question, they're so busy with their day, as is the operator behind the counter, that when that question or inquiry is resolved, they're usually just going to hang up the phone and move on with their day. I figure, why not take advantage of this opportunity while you have the customer live on the phone and upsell a new offering to them? If we can turn a tee time booking call into a restaurant reservation, a potential membership lead, a golf pass sign up, a league sign up, etc., and keep guests notified, especially of the older guests who are not spending the many minutes of their day, delving deep into the web pages and understanding the many facility offerings. We could leverage this as a brand new marketing channel to keep all guests and members entailed and in tune really on the many offerings that golf courses provide, because, all in all, they are not just golf courses, and they're real hospitality experiences that have so much to offer outside of the 18 holes of golf. And we want to ensure that every guest is in tune on what they have to offer.
So will you be able to measure that impact directly from the data that you pull from the calls coming through your system? Or is that something that the golf course is going to have to more or less calculate on their own?
I would say it depends on the particular service. For some services like league signups, for instance, if a given guest claims that they would like us to send them a given sign-up link, we're able to do so and then track some of those conversions to share with the operator. On the flip side, for dining reservations, we can not only help them book their reservations, but transfer them to the dining department if need be. and the dining department can, convene with the general manager to understand how their dining reservations are gradually growing and increasing over time via the streamlined technology. So totally depends on the service, but there are many different ways in which these conversion patterns can be quantified.
Okay, I get that. I think it's still, my feeling is it's going to be a difficult task for you to measure dollar for dollar.
Right.
And you're going to be asked about that, I'm sure, by operators to validate what they're going to spend to deploy your system. But somewhere down the road, that's AI should be able to help calculate those things and come back to the golf course operator saying, hey, we generated X number of dollars for you through phone calls. How would you differentiate yourself from competitors in the golf tech or in the voice AI space? There's other voice AI operators, companies that have emerged more recently. And by the way, I'll mention one other thing real quick. You mentioned the 24-hour being able to answer the phone and respond 24 hours a day. That was the original pitch by EasyLinks back in the late 90s. That was my first job in the golf industry, and EasyLinks built a very impressive call center that was operational 24/7 and did just that, but with live humans, which always had the element of being asked a question that they couldn't answer at 10:30 at night, and there's nobody at the golf course to refer it to. Right. My limited knowledge with AI is that if those questions are asked, your system would learn the proper response. It may not have that the first time, but it would over time be able to learn those things and respond accordingly, specifically for each golf course. Correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the way in which we do that, Harvey, is if the course's website is well up to date, we can automatically ingest and take information from their website, consolidate it into a knowledge base of sorts, and then provide that with the operator on day one. So they're well equipped with all the information pertaining to any given question that comes in. We also give the operator the flexibility to, add in new additional pieces or answers to common inquiries in that respective knowledge base, so they can help fill in the gaps, and we can work collectively with them to limit as much time as they can spent on the software. And on day one, they can get up and running and live, well equipped to answer as many questions and common inquiries as possible.
So that ability, again, the learning ability is somewhat dependent upon the golf course operators making sure that all of the pertinent and even in some cases ancillary information is available and updated on their website on a regular basis. Otherwise, it becomes like reading an old newspaper. It's like, okay, well, this happened 3 months ago, and now it's not relevant because I've changed this or I've done this or we're in a different season or whatever. So there's a certain responsibility. How do you impose that upon your golf course clients regarding their websites?
So they do not need to have the most, enhanced, up-to-date website on planet Earth. And that's where the technology comes into play. If their website is not entirely up-to-date, that's where we work collectively for a little bit of time in the implementation and testing process, if you will, to work collaboratively to help them fill in the gaps. They'll share with us certain, aspects of the operation or information that their team is not readily updating on the website. And then we can set that up live in this knowledge base. So when they're ready to go on day one, they can be well equipped with all those additional answers. So of course, it's just a process of, hey, do you want to get the bulk of your, readiness work done from the start by having your website already be up to date, or spending time on your website, or just leverage the technology itself to help fill in the gaps? So at one point or another, they're inserting and working with us to add in additional information to ensure they're well equipped to answer as many inquiries as possible.
Got it. Okay. So back to my previous question, and I'll change it a little bit. Is that how you're differentiating yourself from competitors in the golf tech or AI space?
Sure. I would say a couple different aspects of the differentiation falls into one, my experiences personally on both ends of the, golfer and operator experience, my deep industry connections and relationships. And then the third being the broader focus well beyond just tee time bookings. We've seen technologies out there that have focused on tee time bookings, which of course is a huge asset and facet of the, golfer customer experience. But especially in some of the NGF's recent studies on how significant, ancillary revenue pertains to a golfer's booking process and customer experience, it's really important for us to take that as a leading edge and ensure that operators are leveraging and marketing their additional offerings outside of golf to use that as the edge and ensure that they're, well equipped, well beyond just the 18-hole tee time bookings, if you will.
Okay, so then, as you've learned by now, there are a variety of golf facility types in this industry. Mm-hmm. And besides, the basics of public, uni, semi-private, although that's not a formal label in this industry and right. Probably should be, resort and private. So how do you plan to scale your adoption across all these different types of golf facilities?
Sure. So I would say in some of the early days, we have a heavy emphasis on the public golf and daily fee and resort portfolios. Their guests are not as well in tune with the staff behind the counter, and they don't have trouble at all, getting their routine inquiries out of the way on a more convenient basis and what works well for them. In the long term, we do absolutely intend on expanding to the private sector. We have a couple of different product offerings, in mind that we will be expanding to over the coming months, and I'd be happy to share more when the time is right on that, but those will be pertaining to the member experience specifically and ensuring every member, gets some of those value adds just like a public golfer would on the daily fee end. So in the long term, we'll be able to readily adjust and be able to tailor to the broader industry. At the same time, we are also, very much open to convening and partnering up with some of the indoor facilities out there who have very similar operations to your standard daily fee course. So that's another facet of our kind of interim future and where our focus lies in helping the operators out.
You said indoor, you're talking about the golf entertainment, golf cafes, simulator business.
You nailed it.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Got it. Yeah. I forgot to add them into the different types of facilities because we're now up to about 2,500 of those around the country. And I think that's
climbing.
Yes. Climbing. And I think that's a big market opportunity for you and others looking to incorporate existing golf technology or new technology into their systems as well, because there's so many similarities.
Absolutely.
So give me a little crystal. Oh, I was going to ask, I'm sorry, one other thing real quick.
Sure.
Are you looking, okay, so your system is phone call based. We get that. Are you looking at adding a chatbot component for the golf course websites for people who are visiting the websites, who aren't calling and have questions and issues and so on?
Yeah, that's a great question. In the early days, we are focusing all of our energies on the phone call experience and ensuring that the voice piece is top notch and really addressing every single operator need. As an early stage technology company, it's a little bit difficult at times to put your hand in many different buckets. And we feel that by focusing on this one core competency and thriving in that area, that's where operators will see the most value. On the flip side, a chat or even text message based product will be one of our upcoming implementations. We recognize that could be crucial for the younger generation of golfers who prefer to leverage their mobile devices for bookings and generic questions, whereas some of the older population will always be call preferred rather. So that will be very much in the pipeline over the coming months, and we expect that to really help out on the younger generation side of golf.
Good. Okay. So it's a possibility down the road.
Absolutely.
Because then that covers both sides of the conversation, so to speak, phone call and web-based.
100%. Yeah.
All right. So let's finish up with this. And if you have more comments, that's great. But I'm curious to know if you take out your crystal ball, how do you see AI technology transforming the golf industry over the next 5 years?
Sure. What I would say, Harvey, is that it's going to be as streamlined and as an experience as ever before. I don't particularly believe on the operations end that many will have to worry about, job offloads or eliminating staff. I could see that being a possibility on the superintendent side, and more specifically maintenance with the robotic technology out there. But I believe on the operations end, the more technology that comes out, the simpler and easier it will be for operators to do their jobs and ensure that all of their time is spent interacting with the customer and putting the customer at number one priority. So quite frankly, and the cool thing about AI is I could give you this answer today and it could be completely different in 30 days from now.
Right.
So I'm not going to speak too much into the future, but I will say that it will be an extremely positive facet to making sure that every operator, has a simpler experience on the job and ensuring the customer is always number one priority, like I prefaced earlier.
Yeah, you mentioned maintenance, and my understanding, having spoken to a couple courses, we had a session at Golf Business Conference in Orlando with robotic mowers, and a gentleman from Maine who's deployed those on his course. I've also spoken with the people who maintain Oracle Park, San Francisco Giants Park in San Francisco, who deployed robotic mowers. Neither one of them laid off any personnel, and instead what they did was they reassigned them to other tasks that could improve conditions or service levels that they weren't really able to perfect or tackle before. And the funny thing about the course operator in Maine, one of his customers were concerned. They came to him and said, "Hey, if you're doing this, you're not laying people off, right? I mean, that's just all wrong. You just can't do that. These people need their jobs and so on." So there is a customer aspect to the thought that, hey, I can put out these robotic mowers and lay off, 20% of my maintenance workers. You're going to get some kickbacks and pushback from customers with that. But they've done, I think, what the right thing to do was saying, hey, we've taken these people who had skills, we've taught them some new skills, and we're now improving our overall facility, service, conditioning, and so on, without laying anybody off, but deploying these robotic mowers as well. So, and those the mowers do require, some maintenance from time to time. So, they're not fully capable of taking care of themselves, So anyway, so back to the 5-year thing. It's interesting that you said, hey, whatever you say now could change in 30 days or 60 days, or, whether it's a company we haven't heard of, whether it's OpenAI, whether it's, Google or whoever else comes up with the next level of AI technology. That's what makes it a little bit scary, I think, for a lot of golf course operators. Totally. Is really don't know what's coming down the pike that is either going to make it better for us, more efficient, or a hell of a lot more expensive.
Right.
So, where you're the AI guy that we have on right now, and you kind of you gave us one answer, but expand on that a little bit, just because you know a lot more about where AI is today. What do you think, from what you have today, those possibilities 5 years from now are just too hard to predict? Or are there some things that just use your imagination. Give us something that says, hey, this would be interesting. And 5 years from now, we'll call up the recording and say, hey, BK was right. Look at this.
Personally, and this might be a hot, crazy take, Harvey, I do think we might have robots in the pro shop in addition to out mowing the course. I think that is a unique prediction that I could very well see coming to fruition in a few years' time. As crazy as that sounds, that kind of goes along with the, artificial intelligence receptionist type of model or the mobile kiosk type of model, just insertions of technologies that streamline the experience in an automated fashion and make it quicker for guests to get their task or question resolved. So I'd say that's one of the bolder predictions. And then I'll also add to that just a suggestion I have for operators in general. I think because this landscape is constantly changing all the time, it's really important to both keep on that forward-thinking hat and mentality while also focusing on the present and the current need at the course. If there are consistently higher call volumes coming in, especially in the summertime or springtime as operations ease up, focus on that pain point. I guess my primary meaning is let's not get too ahead of ourselves and worried, if you will. Just focus day by day, take things day by day, and solve the given problems for that day. And they'll look back at the end of the year and be very pleased with how they're running their operations. And repeat that process, and you're good to go for the long term. Okay, well, when we're done with this, BK, we'll get back on the phone and talk about my idea of a robot that can fold shirts. That would be cool. The operator would buy that immediately. I'm sure they'd be very excited. Absolutely. This has been great, and glad to have you on finally. I know we've been talking about this for a while. Like I said, I was impressed when I heard your demonstration when we were sitting in the convention center in Orlando. I liked what I heard, how I heard it, the naturalness of the voice and interaction. I thought was very impressive and very well done. And by the way, can golf courses choose different types of voices, male or female? Can they even choose, if you're Rock Lucas's course, a voice that mimics a Southern accent when it's answering? Yes, they absolutely can. They can come to us at setup, and we can happily set them up with any gender of voice or type of accent. We have a partner friend of mine that we'll be building for some of their operators at their respective courses requested the voice of Jim Nantz. This was around the Masters time. So we'll see if that, comes to fruition for them. I thought that was a very interesting suggestion, but yeah, many possibilities, and they're ever growing, if you will. So we'll see what happens down the line. So when somebody calls, the answer is going to be, "Hello, friends." You got it. Exactly. Yeah. But would you have an issue? I mean, you couldn't, I guess you could impersonate Jim Nantz's voice without any type of legal issues or permission. You just can't say that this is Jim Nantz answering the phone. Correct. Yeah, there are certain authorizations that do need to be cleared if we do want to explore, a route like that. But, anything is possible as long as you get the authorization and approval from respective parties. So yeah, we'll definitely see what happens in the near future. Oh, that'd be great. That'd be very cool. That's good to know, because I think that adds another level of personalization for the golf course itself. And, I've said for a long time that every golf course has its own personality. Absolutely. Based on how it positions itself in the market and the amenities it has and so on. And being able to add a voice service to it that sounds like it's actually the golf course talking to people is a nice feature that will help, I think, sell your service that much easier. Absolutely. Every guest will feel like a member, as I said at the start of the call, and that's the whole goal with the technology. I want to ensure that hospitality is taken to new heights in ways that operators and guests alike could never even imagine. And I'm doing my best every single day to bring that to life. So I was going to ask for final comments, but it sounds like that was it right there, right? I'd say that sums it up for the most part. Yeah. That sums it up. Very good. BK, thank you very much for this. This was good. I think Harry, our producer, and I want to thank Harry Merle for producing Tech Talks. I neglected to do that in the past. But between Harry and Taylor Wall in making these things happen for me and for our guests and for our members, want to thank them as well. And BK, I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more from you very soon. By the way, are you going to be at MCOR? I don't believe we'll be at MCOR. The plan is to be at the Golf Tech Con come the fall, which is a hot topic as well. So many collaborations to come with you guys and the whole NGCOA team pretty soon. Very good. Thank you very much, BK, and appreciate the time.
and go back to making us all smarter.
Thank you, Harvey, for having me. And thank Harry and Taylor on my behalf as well. I know a lot of work goes into these things, and I appreciate the work you do in spreading the word for the industry.
Very good. That's it, people. That's it for today. This is recorded, so it will be distributed shortly as soon as Harry does his magic with any editing and so on. And thank you again, BK. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in when this happens. And we'll see you all soon.